disconnect our battery terminals using a 10mm socket and remove the ground as well as the positive. Let's get to remove our 10mm bolt here for the battery brace. Pop that off. I'm simply going to spin that aside, and I am going to put the bolt back in the cross member here. Let's go ahead and remove our battery. Grab the brace and the J-hook, and then we're going to grab our battery liner here, pop that out as well.
With the wheel turned out, you're going to use your trim tool. Going to get to this little button right here. Going to pop out the center, and then remove the button itself. Right beside it, there's another one right here. Pop that center, go ahead and pull that button. We're going to use our Phillips head screwdriver to go ahead and remove this screw. Continue along the bottom here. If you have plastic push pins, you want to go ahead and remove them. Ours is missing from a few spots. Buttons that you do find, go ahead and use your trim tool, pop out that center section. Go ahead and rotate your wheel the other way. This will give you access to the inner fender liner. Remove the two buttons like we did on the other side. Okay, and grab your liner or your splash guard here. Work that down and out. And right here in the lower part of the radiator is going to be a drain. We're going to go ahead and loosen that. Going to have your catch can underneath. And I'll unscrew that and coolant will come out. Let's go ahead and drain our radiator. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to go ahead and remove the bolt holding our coolant expansion tank right here, or overflow tank. You can take that bolt out. We actually reinstall it behind the tank here. Thread that back in. I'm going to go ahead and take the expansion tank and lift it upward. And as we lift it up, we're going to go ahead and disconnect the hose for the fluid here. This is going to allow for us to continue to bring the unit up and out. Disconnecting our hose along the way. Now our vehicle has a little bit of coolant in the bottom of this tank here. Yours may be filled up to a certain portion, so you want to have a catch can available to go ahead and drain this out. What you would do is simply open up the top, go ahead and pour this into your bucket or container, put the cover back on. This will now be empty and you'll be able to disconnect the hose off the bottom. Our expansion tank has a clamp on here. If it has one of those clips on there, just use your pliers to go ahead and release that. I'm going to work our hose clamp off. And then work the hose off. Once you pop the hose off, we'll go ahead and set the tank aside. Go ahead and remove your hose clamp so that it doesn't get lost, and set that with your expansion tank. I'm going to go ahead and disconnect the connector for the passenger side fan right here. I'm going to press down on the upper portion of the tab and pull the connector up and away. I'm going to pop that right out. On the driver's side here, we're going to do the same for this fan. Press down on the tab, wiggle the connector out, set that aside. On the upper radiator support here, there's a 10mm bolt holding our ground strap. Let's go ahead and remove that bolt. We're going to set that ground strap aside. We're going to put the bolt right back in. Just a few threads. Across the front here on the top of the radiator, we're going to go ahead and remove our plastic buttons. Use your pry tool and pop these out. Once we get those out, we'll go ahead and grab the trim piece. I'm going to disconnect it from our upper grill area here. On the corner edge of the bumper where it goes up to the fender, there is a Phillips head screw right here. Use your Phillips head screwdriver, remove the screw. Repeat for the driver's side. Now in the lower part of the wheel liner and the bottom corner of the bumper, there are these plastic lock tabs. You're going to use your trim tool. You want to go ahead and pop these. Now ours have already been separated, kind of broken in there a little bit, so we're going to do our best to save what we have here. Once you get this out, go ahead and repeat for the driver's side. I'm going to come over to the edge of the bumper. I'm going to gently grab the bumper and pull it away, like so. I'm going to work our way around the front, right around to the grill, and all the way to the driver's side. Grab the bumper, pull it straight forward, and set that aside. Using a 10mm socket, we're going to go ahead and remove this bolt right here for the condenser bracket. Go to the driver's side, do the same here. Just going to grab our brackets right here, pop these off, set those aside. Using a 10mm socket, go ahead and remove the bolt here for the radiator bracket. Repeat for the passenger side. Grab your brackets and bushings, set those aside. I'm going to go ahead and loosen our upper radiator hose clamp here. also going to loosen the inboard radiator hose clamp. Go ahead and remove the hose. Using our 10mm socket and extension, we're going to go ahead and undo the 10mm bolts holding the fan. Catch those on its way out. Take the fan, pull it up, and we're just going to maneuver this up and out of the way. Using your 10mm socket and extension, let's go ahead and remove this nut right here, or bolt. Catch that bolt as it comes out, and there's one right beside it. Go ahead and remove this one. Now we're going to pop our AC condenser out of the mounts and just kind of tilt it a little bit. Grab our radiator, tilt that back as well. And go ahead and grab the fan and pull us up this way here. And there is a harness here with a connector. We're just going to go ahead and use our trim tool remover and pop that right off. Now that harness that we just disconnected has a connector right here, but the connector is attached to the metal tab on the side of the cooling fan. I'm going to try and separate that from the cooling fan. Just work that up and it'll pop right off the side of that bracket. Pull the fan up and out. I'm going to tilt our radiator back a little bit. I'm going to lower our fan down into position. And before we set that all the way down, we have to reconnect our harness on the side of the fan bracket. We'll slide that down into place. And attach our little retainer clip on the side for the harness. And let's go ahead and lower the fan down into place. The bottom of the fan has two little posts that fit into two tabs at the bottom of the radiator. I'm going to go ahead and install our cooling fan bolts. And once these are in, we'll go ahead and snug those down. And I just want to lightly snug these down. It's only securing plastic to plastic, so you don't want to over tighten these. Once it bottoms out, just a hair bit more. On the bottom of your fan, you have these little posts that are going to fit into the bottom of the radiator. And you're just going to have to drop this down and wiggle it around a little bit to get it into place. Going to install our bolts. Once those bolts are started, let's go ahead and snug those down. Once you feel it snug up, just go a little bit more. You're just securing plastic to plastic, and you don't want to crack the mounting tabs here. I'm going to go ahead and reconnect our electrical connectors here for the fans. You hear that one click, and then connect the one beside it. I'm going to install our upper radiator hose. And just kind of flex that around, install it onto your radiator right here. At this point here, let's go ahead and snug down our hose clamps. Snug down that upper hose. Once you feel it getting snug, just go a few more turns. Do the same for the engine side here. Snug that down a little bit. I'm going to remove our 10mm bolt right here. I'm going to bring up our ground wire, install that. You want to make sure that that ground wire is clean, because this ground strap is very important to the operation. Go ahead and snug that down. Install your driver's side radiator bracket. And we'll go ahead and get that bolt started. Once this is started, repeat for the passenger side. Grab your 10mm socket and snug that down. Go ahead and install your radiator cap. Line up the tabs with the notches on the neck. And take our bumper and slide this in. And work this up and over our radiator cap. As we're bringing this up, I want to pay attention to the bumper going underneath. I want to line this up. Working this underneath the lamp. Work this around and get our bumper underneath the fender. I'm going to go ahead and pop this in. Work our way around to the passenger side. Do the same over here. Once this lines up, just tap it into place. We'll install our plastic buttons here. Work our way right across the top. We've got 4 of those to do. Going to install our screw on the edge of the bumper right here. Once this is in, we'll go repeat for the driver's side. I'm going to take our expansion tank, grab the hose. We're going to put our hose clamp back on. Here we go. We'll snug up that hose clamp. That way there we have no leaks in the future. Go ahead and line this up. We're going to feed this right back down. And the bottom right here has a tab, and that's going to fit right into the bracket down below. We're going to pop our hose into our little tabs right here. Feed that down, and we're going to pop this one into this connector right here. Feed this down. You're probably going to have to reach down and get that lined up and into that notch. All right, now that we're in, let's go ahead and install our bolt at the top. Let's go ahead and install our bolt. Start it by hand and thread it in as far as you can. Now go ahead and snug that down. Once that's snug, You want to go ahead and unscrew this cap here. The coolant that you had just taken out, or you can use some fresh coolant, fill this up using your funnel and fill it up to the full line, which is the second line from the bottom up. Then you can go ahead and reinstall your cap. Let's go ahead and grab our radiator cap. Open that up. We want to go ahead and fill our radiator. Use our filling funnel here. Now I want to go ahead and fill the radiator with the factory recommended fluids. We want to continue to do this until the radiator is visibly at the top of the filler neck. We want to go ahead and start the vehicle, let it warm up, and give that thermostat enough time to open up and cycle the coolant through the engine. At that point there, we're going to go ahead and check our expansion tank and see what our fluid level is there. I'm going to go ahead and remove our funnel and our filling neck here. Let's go ahead and put on our radiator cap. Next, we're going to go ahead and open up our expansion tank, and we're going to fill that accordingly. Now, when we fill our expansion tank, we want to bring it up to this line right here. That's the high, this is the full line right here. You want to fill it to this. And once you have the expansion tank filled up to that full line, we're going to put the cap on. I'm going to start up the vehicle, let it get up to operating temperature, 20 to 30 minutes of idling time or drive time, and then we'll go ahead and check the expansion tank again and fill as necessary. And take our battery tray, line this up, drop it into place, line up the pins on the body. Want to make sure that the main shield is between the overflow and the fans. Set that in like that. I'm going to install our J-hook here. We'll go ahead and lower our battery down, making sure that the positive side of the battery is facing the front of the vehicle. Grab your J-hook, bring this around. Before we pop that on, let's go ahead and get our battery sleeve put on, if you have it. Here we go. I'm going to go ahead and snug down that 10mm bolt right there. And take our negative terminal, going to set that into place, grab our positive terminal, set this into place, and line up our little harness retainer here. Let's go ahead and snug down our battery terminals. I'll go ahead and install our pin in the center right here. Work our way out from there. We're going to take our metal screw retainer, slide that up under the fender liner over that hole. We're going to take our Phillips head screw, put it up through here, goes through the splash shield and into that little retainer, that little lock. And then go ahead and screw this together. Now work our splash shield under. Bring the wheel well liner over. And then we'll put our screw in. Install our button here. Go ahead and line up your fender liner with the splash shield. Go ahead and get your buttons installed. Repeat for the other side.